Hi, kids. Tonight's book is called How to Be a Viking by Cressida Cowell. There's a movie called How to Train Your Dragon, and I guess this book is about Hiccup. There's Hiccup in the book version. Long ago, in a fierce and frosty land, there lived a small and lonely Viking, and his name was Hiccup. There he is again. Vikings were enormous, roaring burglars with bristling mustaches who sailed all over the world and took whatever they wanted. Hiccup was tiny and thoughtful and polite. The other Viking children wouldn't let him join in their rough Viking games. Hiccup was frightened of spiders, he was frightened of thunder, and he was frightened of loud noises. There he is. All the kids won't let him play. There he is, scared of spiders. But most of all, he was frightened of going to sea for the very first time. Next Tuesday, Hiccup wasn't sure he was a Viking at all. There he is, pondering, being just in the water. Hiccup's father was Stoic the Vast. Wherever Stoic walked, there he is. Wherever Stoic walked, the ground trembled, flowers wilted, and bunnies fainted. He hadn't brushed his beard in 30 years. Wow. Only girlies brush their beards, he said. Girlies don't have beards, Hiccup pointed out, but no one listened to him. And when Hiccup told his father he was frightened of going to sea, Stoic laughed his enormous Viking laugh until salty tears ran down to his enormous hairy feet. You can't be frightened, little Hiccup. Vikings don't get frightened. And he sang the Viking song. Look at those feet. And there's Hiccup and a bunny fainting and the flowers breaking. He sang the Viking song. I have blacked the 1,000 eyes of 1,000 angry gales. Watch me knock the cockles off the biggest, bluest whales. I have given walrus nightmares who thought that they were strong. I marooned a huge typhoon on an island off Hong Kong. Oh, ancient prawny greenness, the never-ending sea, mess with squirmy jellyfish, but do not mess with me. That's his song. Do not mess with Stoic. He patted Hiccup on the head and went off to do 300 push-ups before breakfast. Oh, thought Hiccup, it all sounds very dangerous. So Hiccup went to see the oldest Viking of all, Old Wrinkly himself, whose barnacled beard fell down to his toes. Your saltiness, he whispered, for Hiccup had beautiful manners. Do Vikings ever get frightened? There's Old Wrinkly. Look at that beard. So long. Little grandson, wheezed Old Wrinkly, and his breath was like being kissed by a mackerel. A mackerel's a fish. I've been wondering about the answer to that question myself. The sea is full of trials and terrors, but it is also full of marvels and miracles. Go to sea, and you can tell me if Vikings ever get frightened. I don't think Hiccup's very convinced. So, at 8:45, on a breezy Tuesday, Hiccup went to sea for the very first time. And there he is, going off to sea for the very first time. You can see the fish. Those are dolphins, I think. And there he is with his dad. And there's his friends waving goodbye. Goodbye, Hiccup. At 9:30, Hiccup was wishing he hadn't eaten those 2 smallish haddock for breakfast. Haddock are also fish. At 9:45, he was feeling very peculiar indeed. And at 10:30, he wished he was dead. Oh no, I think he might be seasick. I feel seasick, he said to his father. Vikings don't get seasick, said Stoic the Vast. See, he's saying, Vikings don't get seasick. But geez, Hiccup looks positively green. But this one was all over Stoic's feet. Hiccup got sicker and sicker, and the storm got wilder and wilder. Poor Hiccup. Stoic the Vast sang the Viking song at the storm, but the storm took no notice. A great wave came up and soaked him. Look at that giant wave. Oh. One mighty wave picked up that whole Viking ship as if it were a matchstick and threw it 50 miles to the south. Look at those giant waves. And one mighty blast from the gale picked up that whole Viking ship as if it were a piece of seaweed, and it threw it 50 miles to the west. And a terrible black wind went shrieking all over the lonely ocean and turned that Viking ship upside down and inside out and went shivering down every single Viking's spine. Look how tiny their ship looks out in that giant ocean. And the wind is howling. I'd be scared. We're lost, said Stoic, the not so vast after all, and a funny thing happened. His face began to turn a greenish hue, and he thought of the 37 haddock he had had for breakfast, and his stomach began to heave. And then all the Vikings turned a pretty green color, and all their stomachs heaved, and with an almighty rush, they ran to the side. So there they all are, turning all green. And they're all getting sick. Well, well, said Hiccup. It appears that Vikings do get seasick. And immediately he began to feel better. This direction, shouted Hiccup. But the Vikings were too busy being seasick to steer the boat. So Hiccup began to take charge, and a funny thing happened. The more he steered, the better he felt. Oh, his dad doesn't look too good at all. There they all are. There's Hiccup steering. As he headed for home, that stormy wind filled the sails and the boat skimmed over the ocean at 1,000 miles an hour. Out of the depths of the sea came shoals of flying fish and weeping dolphins and strange whales with horns like unicorns. Cool. There's the other ones. Leaping. There were eels that lit up like light bulbs and nameless things with enormous eyes that no one had ever seen before, all following Hiccup the Viking as he steered that ship at tremendous speed toward home. There's the eels that light up. Nice breezy day, hummed Hiccup as he stared into the harbor. So tell me, said Old Wrinkly, and his old seashell eyes might have been twinkling, do Vikings ever get frightened? Do Vikings ever get frightened? Sometimes they do, said Stoic the Vast, but they get over it, said Hiccup the Viking. That's what makes them so brave. That's right. Vikings sometimes get seasick. Mess with the squirmy jellyfish, but do not mess with me. The end. Well, that's how to be a Viking for tonight. Good night. to Sawyer, Adelaide, Waylon, Stella, Luca, Josie, Hazel, Clayton. Nighty night. Sleep tight. Nighty night, Colton. Nighty night.